We're all aware that the economic conditions out there aren't exactly fantastic. We hear stories constantly about inflation, a weird job market out there, and food prices going up and up and up. It's across the board. Egg prices right now seem to be fluctuating. I was at Sam's Club and saw 3 months ago a 18-pack of their basic eggs cost almost $9 near me, which for some of you will sound like a pretty good deal. A couple of weeks ago, I was there, and those same eggs now cost around $5.50 for an 18-pack. But curiously, they also had a limit purchase of 2 per customer. The prices of eggs are fluctuating, and we're also seeing beef prices that are continuing to go up. And I've been talking about this now for months and months and months on this channel. And one of the main drivers for this was the big drought from last year. The ranchers near me reported that the rain that they were getting was not anywhere sufficient enough to keep their fields healthy for their cattle to graze on. And the farmers who produced the feed for the cattle ranchers were reporting the same thing, that they could not get the water they needed at a good price to make up for the lack of rainfall. Consequently, a lot of farmers sent their cattle to slaughter early. There were historical lines at the processing centers of cows, resulting in a temporary price reduction in beef. We saw some remarkably low prices for ribeye steaks and other things for longer than the normal summer grilling season, and a lot of people kind of took it for granted. Well, now we have some data from the USDA that will tell us kind of how bad things are looking on the cattle front moving into 2023 as the year progresses. And now that we're practically either in spring, depending where you are in the country, or are about to be entering the spring, these forecasts don't necessarily look good for the coming grilling season in the spring through the early part of fall. So we had a USDA report that came out just a couple of days ago that gives us some data on this. So from that report, quote, total red meat and poultry production in 2023 is forecast to decrease for the first time in nearly a decade. This is mostly due to the 6% decline in beef production that more than offsets forecast increases in pork, 2% increase for pork, broiler meat, 1% increase, and turkey, 7% increase in production. Tightening cattle supplies are expected to cause a significant year-over-year decrease in beef production, the first decline since 2015. After 2 consecutive years of decline, commercial pork production is forecast to increase in 2023 on higher slaughter and fractionally higher carcass weights. Broiler meat production is forecast to continue its long-standing upward trend in 2023, increasing marginally over the last year's record production. Turkey production is expected to increase throughout 2023 under the assumption that the sector recovers from highly pathogenic avian influenza outbreaks. End quote. So beef is down. It's going to be down at least 6% going into the grilling season, and that's not good for those of you who are looking forward to the meat sales during the summer to restock your freezer. Traditionally, a lot of carnivores take advantage of the Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then summer grilling seasons to stock their freezers with great deals on meat. And a 6% decrease in the supply is going to translate to higher prices. That is on top of higher prices related to the constraints on feed and on inflation and other economic conditions, including, well, some of the railway issues that have dominated the headlines in recent months, and to some of the railway union issues and trucking problems. You start adding all these together and you start getting higher prices for meat. So when you hear people say there's a projection for a 20% increase in the cost of meat in 2023 compared to just 2022, that's why. Cost increases at various different parts of the supply chain lead to higher compounded prices. And this is why many of us suggest looking into buying your beef locally. You may pay a slightly higher price up front, for, say, ground beef or something from a local rancher. But what you may end up doing is when you buy it in bulk, you may save money and you'll have a more stable cost from them because their supply chains are significantly lower. If you buy, half a cow or quarter cow or full cow from a local rancher who gets his feed from his neighbor and sells it to you within 20, 30 miles of where the animal was processed. You will have a lower price. Now, there was an earlier report just about a month ago from the USDA that really gives us more data on this shrinkage in the supply of cows. And I think we should take a look at this because, again, many cows last year were taken to slaughter early because of drought and the impact of the drought on cattle feed production. So let's take a look at this so we can get a better understanding of the problem. Quote, pointing to cattle producers retaining 6% fewer replacement heifers for the beef cow herd this year, USDA projects 5% fewer beef heifers to calve in 2023. We are in the contraction phase of the cattle cycle, Seth Meyer, USDA's chief economist, said in his opening speech at the forum. Western drought and high feed prices, quote, make them, producers, uncertain about expansion, Meyer said. He added, I think drought will continue to play a role on those cattle numbers. USDA cited current data, quote, would suggest increasingly declining placements and lower feedlot numbers throughout 2023. The declining U.S. supplies also will result in higher imports of live cattle. USDA expects cattle imports will hit 2.1 million head in 2023, up 500,000 head from 2022's imports of 1.6 million cattle. Cattle shrink is large enough to outstrip an increase in swine and poultry production, USDA forecast. USDA forecasts lower feed prices as the department projects corn, soybean, and wheat prices will decline in 2023. Corn prices are projected to fall from an average of $6.70 a bushel for the 2022 to 2023 crop to $5.60 a bushel for the 2023-2024 crop. Soy meal prices are projected to fall from an average of $450 per ton to $410 per ton as well. Still, USDA also cites that hay stocks on December 1st, 2022 were at 71.9 million tons, down 9% from a year earlier. Major cattle-producing states such as Texas, Oklahoma, and Nebraska all had lower hay stocks, end quote. So some feed grains are cheaper now than they were a year ago, and that's not that surprising. We've seen a lot of drought turnaround in some places. Already, month to date in Oklahoma, we are above average rain for the month of March, and that is a good sign. But a lot of this cattle feed stores that were meant to be supporting cattle production during the winter months when there just isn't much growing in the fields are down almost 10%, and that's going to have a negative impact on the cost of cattle into the summer and fall seasons. And we don't know what the weather's going to be like this year. They have some projections, but again, that's just a healthy guesstimate based on some scientific data. So what is your takeaway from this? Your takeaway is you should expect possibly to pay more for meat. So what do? Go shop the sales, of course. You always shop the sales. Know when your store is going to have the markdown meats. Watch those grilling season sales and take advantage of them if you haven't before. You're watching this days after St. Patrick's Day, and as long as you can handle those corned beef briskets that they sell, if you can handle them, stock up. I would suggest if you like corned beef to brine it yourself, but if you can't brine it yourself because you don't have the space or the skills or you're not comfortable doing it, and if you can handle the lower quality sodiums they use for this stuff and some of the spice packets, buy them. They're all right now on sale at your grocery store. But Easter is only 2 weeks away. You should be able to find good sales on meat soon, and so take advantage because 6 months from now when the next big round of prime rib roasts or whatever go on sale, this sale price might be higher than the current sale price that you're going to see now. So be more mindful of those sales. Take advantage. Find out when the markdowns are going out at your store. Find out the websites that will tell you what the grocery sales are at all the stores within a reasonable drive of where you live so you can take full advantage. That's the best advice I can give you. And of course, get to know your local rancher. You might be surprised at some of the prices they have on meat, especially since grass-fed, grain-finished is going to be a lot easier to get from a local rancher than at your grocery store. Anyway, I hope you found this data helpful. Let me know what you think of this in the comments and what you've seen in meat prices just this year. Have you seen any price fluctuations in 2023 at your store, aside from sales, like the baseline price for the ribeye or whatever you're buying? Let me know in the comments, please. Like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help, as does sharing this on social media. That helps a lot too. I'm Anthony Stine, the Practical Carnivore. Thanks for tuning in.